Hey everybody, it's Kenny K here again, and I wanted to review A Bay of Blood from 1971. Gets 6.5 on IMDb, great score. Gets 5.5 from me, not because I think it's a 1 point less worthy, but 5.5 for me is like I watch this movie maybe once a year, and that's the reason why I'm giving it a 5.5. But it can easily be a 6.5. It's a giallo movie directed by Mario Bava, who was famous for doing a lot of these horror giallo movies. I think his son Lamberto Bava, he directed Demons, a extremely well done splatter horror movie, which sets in Germany. It's just one of my, actually one of my maybe top 20 horror movies. Uh, or at least top five movies with demons, supernatural stuff. So, that really great movie. But now, Bay of Blood. Now, some people dare to say that this movie is the grandfather of slasher movies, that this one started it all. And if you do a quiz, a question, if you'll do a quiz, a slasher, like Ghostface from Scream saying which was the first slasher movie ever. If you said this movie, that would be wrong. It would be Peeping Tom from 1966, 76, I'm not sure. A colored movie, and then you had Psycho after that. A lot of people say Psycho, Norma Bates wears a kitchen knife. I mean, that's also a slasher movie, basically. Um, but this one really upped the kill count because in those Peeping Tom and Psycho, you only have a few kills, two, three kills max. This one you get about, I think, 13 kills or something. Yeah. But, and here's the complicated thing about the movie. The movie has five killers plus one killer, one karma killer, and a karma accomplice killer. So basically, like 6 to 7 killers. And the movie is about this bay. Just to tell you the story, in Italy, and it's owned by the Countess Frederica, and but it's her bay. She's married with Filippo. He's the count, but he has nothing to say over the bay. Now, of course, he's in the will to get the bay if she dies. So what happens in the beginning of the movie? Immediately, Frederica is killed by an unseen person. Then we see the person's face. We see it's the count. He kills her to get the will for the bay. Then an unseen person, and that person we don't see, he's stabbing him multiple times until he's dead. And our movie begins. Basically, we have these groups of people. You have the realtor Ventura with his girlfriend, wife, I'm not sure, Laura, who wanna who always wanted to buy the bay and make this luxury resort on the bay, but Frederica didn't want to. Then you have Renata and Alberto. Renata is basically the daughter of the Count, Filippo, who's looking for her father because she didn't. He's also dead, and she doesn't know what happened to him. And then you have one couple that are residents, a staple residence on the bay, and that they have stable residents on the bay are Paulo and Anna. Paulo is this like insect catching guy. You know, the guys who pin those insects on on this and make like frames out of it. He's that kind of guy. And Anna is a tarot card layer, and she's constantly laying the death card and betrayal and vengeance and all this shit, and she's completely you know, over her head. She's gone completely paranoid. Now, eventually, all these people, Renata and Alberto, with their two kids, in a trailer. They have a trailer van, and they coming towards the bay to look for their father. You also have Simon. Simon is a fisherman who's living in also a residence. He has this fisherman shack. He has this little pier and a boat, and these are your characters. So, what's happening in this movie basically is people are starting to die. There's also a group. I didn't wrote down the names of these youngsters, but a group of youngsters. This like, is it a car? Is it a dune buggy? I'm not sure. A yellow, like dune buggy looking car. You've got two German girls and two Italian guys who wanna fuck. They're horny as fuck, and because the other guy like says, "You date a crowd girl. You date a crowd girl." Okay, so they arrive at the bay, and they're like, there was a resort at some point, and it failed, and there's this dancing, you know, and this discotheque that still, you know, has a few like raised up plateaus where people would be dancing on, and one of those crowd girls starts to like do this, and and there's no fucking music playing. I think she took some LSD stripes, and the other guy has I mean, his hairstyle. He's the one who gets that girl, and he has the hairstyle of Darth Vader. Darth Vader's helmet, you know, that goes like, you know, that goes like this. His hair's like wonk, boom, dum, 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 dum. It's like this shrimpy guy who has a Darth Vader haircut. And I mean, there's two other. I mean, the thing what they're doing basically is, so I'm gonna call him Darth Vader, haircut, horny guy, and horny German girl, and other German girl is gone swimming. She's gone on her own. Now somebody's watching them. You can see through cracks and eyeball. You know, somebody's watching them. The first thing that they do is like, there's this house that's clearly been lived in, and they just break in like a bunch of punks. And I thought, okay, this house looks abandoned. No, it had a bed. I mean, he had a cupboard full of drinks, and it was completely fitted out to live in. And apparently later on, that's Ventura's house, the realtor's house, or vacation house at least. And I'm thinking, what the fuck are those assholes doing, you know? Just to get a bed to fuck in, and the other guy to take some drinks. Now, spoilers, what happens now? So basically this movie is about a big battle for the bay. Who gets the will for the bay? And these four idiots that I just mentioned are just unlucky enough to be there, and they're gonna get slaughtered. Um, I can already say that this movie for this time was a pretty graphic movie. You know, Giallo usually are graphic, I mean, violent movies. Christopher Lee apparently was so disgusted that he walked out of the theater. And Friday the 13th part. Now, part two, I know, took two kills out of this movie. They admitted it, but they also said for part one, and I don't know which kill that would be. But in any case, apparently both of the movies ripped some kills almost scene by scene off in from this movie. So it had an influence. It had, for sure, an influence. There's a POV shot also, so maybe who knows, Halloween or Black Christmas, had the POV shot too, and that was 74. This is 71. So the first one who gets it is what the other guy referred to as crowd girl. The one who's just dancing with no music, being super hyper irritating, and she was irritating as fuck. Worst character of the movie. She, you know what? Let me think about it. There's a second worst character I did not like too. So eventually, she goes out for a swim, and I'm thinking it's pretty cool because Italy has seasons like winter, fall, winter, and in the fall and the winter it gets fucking cold, and you can see the leaves are brownish, and she's taking a fucking swim, and the entire bay is full of these giant octopi. I mean, there's a scene where this Simon guy sees Paolo catching the butterfly, and he's laughing at him, and this Simon guy takes a squid, rolls him over his the tentacles over his arm, and then take a bite raw out of his head from the squid, just takes a bite out of it raw. I mean, fuck. I like squid, but baked in a pan or grilled or something, but like that. Now Mrs. Crowdgirl finds Filippo's dead body. Now this of course makes that she is gonna call the police. Now that is what the person, who killed Filippo, does not want to. So we see this awesome chase scene where you see her running, looking back, and we see it's like a machete, but I think it's called a billy hook. If I'll find a picture of the weapon, I'll put it up there, up here. I'll put a picture of all the characters, so you kind of know who's who, okay? To keep, because you really gotta keep your mind on this movie. You see the billy hook following her, and then eventually like I said, it's like the point is like this, and it goes inwards. So he takes her by the throat, slice her. Not only slice her throat, but takes her throat out with the billy hook. So she's dead. Now, meanwhile, at the house that these punks broke into, the Darth Vader helmet guy is opening the door because somebody's knocking on it, and he opens the door and he gets that same billy hook straight crossed in the face. And that's a kill that's ripped off in part two with, Dan, I believe, or it was Dan McBride. I'm not sure if that was his name, but the wheelchair guy gets out of nowhere, the crossed in his face, the machete, in this case, the billy hook. And after that, the other couple who's fucking, they get the spear through the back scene, and in this case, we see everything. The blood squirting out of the back, which in Friday the 13th Part Two with Sandra and Jeff is also the case, and in the uncut version, we see the same. It's just exactly the same scene. You know, kind of stirring the spear in the back so the blood squirts, and it's the exact same scene. So they're dead. And now Renata and Alberto arrive with their kids, and they go to ask Simon if he saw. They first go to the local residents, Pablo and Anne. Now these are weird people, okay? Pablo believes that the Countess was killed, and it wasn't a suicide because there was a suicide note. And Anne is like, they both believe that they were killed. Now these two aren't killers. Let's start with that. These two are just unfortunate people who meddled a little bit too much in their business and eventually got killed for it, knowing that they were, that the Countess was killed, and them always skulking around and seeing killers killing somebody else, and then of course getting killed. Now, after that visit, Renata and Alberto go to Simon, who just again has a boat full of squids under this blanket, and they ask, "Did you see Filippo?" "I don't know," he says. "I don't know." But then the squid opens because squids are very intelligent animals, they can escape, they're like Houdinis, and you see the body of Filippo lying there in the boat. And he said, okay, I found him, but he was in the lake. I didn't know what to do with him. And then Renata and Alberto start to get the pieces together, and they start to go, especially Renata. Alberto has nothing to say in this relationship. Now, apparently, Simon, here's the order of the killing. So Simon killed the crown girl because she saw Filippo, and she was gonna call the cops. And then after that, I think he was the one who killed he's the one who killed everybody in the house. That or Ventura, I'm not sure. I think the Darth Vader helmet got killed by Simon, and the spears got killed by Ventura. Ventura killed them. Now, then we see that Simon, Ventura, and his wife Laura they basically are in cahoots, because Simon is the bastard son of the Countess. Filippo never acknowledged him, but countess acknowledged him and was really fond about him and wanted him nearby. She loved him, and that's the reason why Simon killed Filippo. He killed Filippo because he killed his mom. So he's sitting there with all this pile of bodies with these youngsters that are punks, and he says they saw the body. I didn't know what to do, and Ventura says, "No, you did the right thing. They would have called the police. It would be. But then, like I said, Paulo and Anna, they go their separate way. And Anna is going to look in Ventura's house. Eventually to find Ventura attacked by Renata because Renata goes to Ventura's house and Alberto goes to Paulo's house. Now Alberto kills Paulo because he wanted to call the police. He found one of the he found a body somewhere, probably one of the body they disposed of, and he wanted to call the police. He gets strangled with the phone cord by Alberto, and Anna goes to Ventura's house. Now Ventura is there with an axe and wants to kill Renata because he knows she's actually the one who's the legitimate owner now of the well, she and Simon, of course, they are now the owners of the bay, but of course Simon wants to sell it, and that's what Ventura really wants. That's why he's working with Simon, but Renata doesn't want to. So Renata, holds him back and stabs him in the leg with a pair of scissors. Then we see Anna, the tarot card reader, coming in the house, finding Ventura on the ground with a wound in his leg. Then we see her head getting chopped off by Renata with the axe that Ventura had. Okay. Then they see Lawrence. Then Renata and Alberto come together. They say it's been done. Then they say now it's just Simon. But then they see Laura coming with her car. She's going to Ventura's house. And they're also Renata and Alberto are saying Paolo and Anna, those two people, shouldn't have meddled. Then they probably would have been still alive. Idiots, this and that. Then you see, like I said, Laura going to Ventura's house. Ventura is still alive. He only had a stab wound in his leg, saying, listen, you gotta get to Simon now immediately and warn him. We're gonna kill him. And she eventually runs to Simon's shack. Simon closes the door and has the billy hook ready, his signature weapon. So everything who was killed with the billy hook was Simon. Now Simon says that he betrayed her, that they betrayed him, and he wants to kill her. But then she's explaining she's lying, of course, but that she didn't have anything to do with it. That was all Ventura's idea. But we go to a flashback when they're trying to convince Frederica, but Laura gets the job to seduce Filippo because he was a pervert, basically. He fucked everything with a skirt on, and her job was to kind of seduce him and saying, if you kill Frederica, I'll fuck you, like something like that. So she was the one who basically seduced Filippo to kill the countess to get some sexy time, and that's it's actually very perverted, right? You're just killing your fucking wife for some sex. Jesus fucking Christ. Eventually, so she was also an instigator, but then she gets strangled by Simon. Simon being feeling alone because he feels that he done stupid things. He was entangled in this entire spider web of killings, and then he goes to the remnants hotel, with the dancing, and when he gets out, he gets impaled by Alberto by a spear, and then gets killed like that. He's still trying to hit him with a billy hook, but Alberto has a long spear, so he can keep his distance. And eventually they go back to Ventura's house to finish Ventura off. Now there's this big fight in the dark between Ventura and Alberto, and Renata is looking at who's winning this fight, because nobody really. So they're like, and you hear that, see somebody coming up, and she's saying Alberto, Alberto. No, but the person who's coming towards her doesn't reply, and eventually we see them opening a bottle of champagne that apparently Alberto killed Ventura, and that why the fuck he didn't respond, I still don't understand. Maybe a practical joke, but that's not the time to make practical fucking jokes. These people weren't killers, mind you. They just wanted a bay, so it's all about money. So you see what happens when fucking money is involved. Jesus fucking Christ. Now here comes the kicker. So who did we had? So Simon killed 2 of the punks, and Ventura killed 2 of the punks with the spear. Okay, Simon killed 2 of the punks with the billy hook, then killed Laura, then Renata killed Anna because she's meddling, and stabbed Ventura, but Alberto eventually killed Ventura and killed Paolo because he wanted to call the police, and Filippo killed his wife, and Filippo was killed by Simon. Can you follow? And then we have the most karma scene ever. So they're basically taking all the papers, signing shit, and eventually their kids, a daughter and a son, and they say, "Freeze, mommy and daddy," with a shotgun, and they're like, "Huh?" A loaded double-barrel shotgun, right, through 2 bullets, boom, off at the same time, blowing Renata and Alberto away. Whoa, they can play dead. They can play dead good, right? Let's go to the bay, yes. And they dropped the weapon. So like I said, those were the 6th, 7th killer of the movie, but they were karma killers because they killed the ones who wanted to bay, and especially Renato wanted to go over bodies and convinced and mind fucked Alberto to do it too. Okay, so, and that's the end of the movie. So nobody has the bay, basically. Nobody's left to get the bay. Yeah, maybe the kids. Yeah, maybe the kids. I think next in line would be the kids, the grandchildren, right? Who the fuck would leave a loaded shotgun in this little trailer where they're sleeping in, and I'm called little, like 10 feet long, if that. Who would leave that just in the open with two bullets in? Okay. Um, so, okay, the pros and the cons. Okay, the cons, like I said, who would keep a loaded fucking shotgun in a little trailer where kids are sleeping? Because everything happens at night in this movie when all the killings happen. So they're sleeping, they wake up, find a shotgun, and they think, "Oh, let's play," you know. Um, I now Paulo, I understand. I thought it was funny, and an honest man, and I thought he was just doing good, and that they killed him because especially they said if he just didn't want to call the cops, that they would have stayed alive. They kept him to their house during all this entire ordeal. So I was kind of sad when he died. I thought it was calm that he died. Um, like I said, my least favorite character is I wanted to say the crowd girl, but I think she was completely high on LSD. So I'm gonna say Anna. She just goes to Ventura's house and goes and snoop and is snooping on other people, and she was constantly yelling at Paulo for nothing, and she was kind of a bitch. I would say that Filippo do too, but we didn't get to know him too much. Besides that, he's a killer and that he would kill for sex. Pretty vile and disgusting. Uh, another con is, uh, like I said, you really have to pay attention. You really do. You really do. You have to, there. This little scenes in there when uh, Simon, Laura, and Ventura are, they're together. This and in front of them, he has the crowd girl and the German. I'm gonna say German girl because the other said they just crowd girl and the Darth Vader helmet guy. And they're lying in front of them, and he said, "I couldn't let them live because they would call the police." Where you can see on Simon's face that he didn't want to do this. Simon is basically like the not bad guy, but he doesn't want to go to jail. He doesn't want, uh, let the baby fucked over. But he also has something like the his mom. He loved his mom very much, and she loved him, and it's like he has nothing left there. You know what I mean? Like I said, the con was those three punks: Darth Vader helmet head, and horny German girl that they just broke into a fucking house. The soundtrack is okay. Yeah, has soundtrack is on par with the movie's theme. Um, and so going to the pros, the soundtrack, like I said, is on par with the movie's theme. The acting is actually very good for this Gilo 1971 slasher movie. They all have their different quirks. There are different, one is a realtor, a greedy realtor, a bug catcher, a tarot card reader, a woman who will go over corpses. Everybody, instead of the Paolo and Anna, everybody would go over corpses to keep the bay for themselves or to sell it to get the money for it. So that's one thing they all have in common. They will go over corpses. Alberto, Renata's husband, didn't want to kill, but she was like, "Don't be a pussy, don't be a pussy." She was really a bitch. Um, yeah, the practical effects are pretty well done. The kills, I mean the slash through in the face is on par with the one Friday the 13th Part 2, and the stab with the spear on it too. So my favorite kill is probably gonna be the two characters I didn't like, and I'm gonna give two kills, my favorite kills in this movie. The two characters I didn't like I said, was Anna and Renata. She was making a guy a murderer, basically. She was basically making her husband being a murderer, and that is not done. They had kids. I mean, what fucked up woman was she? Then going back to the pros, favorite kills, the machete, Darth Vader's kill. I mean, Darth Vader hairdo, helmet, his kill, whack, the billy hook straight to his face, cross-faced, and then of course the spear kill. Uh, Again, these are very horrifying kills. Uh, he had a few good kills too, but like decapitation with an axe, but those two were and the billy hook, slicing out the throat out of the other girl, the other German girl, and that one's on the cover, I believe, of the movie. Uh, and my two favorite characters are Paulo and Simon in a way. Simon, I liked his roughness and kind of felt for the guy. So that's why he was one of my favorite characters. I kind of felt for him. Lost his mom, knew what he did was I think he knew he went over the line with the killings and shit, and that he never really wanted this to happen. And so I'm gonna say Simon. Yeah. So yeah, it's a great movie. It has great practical kills, good soundtrack. The location is creepy because it's an isolated bay, uh, and there's a large tree line around it. So you've got the killers they're like I said, if you don't count the kids, you've got five killers. So five killers basically killing each other, all for this one bay, and that's something I personally did not see yet. Maybe in a newer movie, but it's almost the story, and then there were none. If you know that movie, so they're all going to this castle, and the survivor will inherit the castle, but they're all inheritors, but they're all being killed one by one, and then there were none, basically. And that's also a kind of a slasher movie, but I don't know for which year. Uh, but it's kind of like that. Um, they killed until there were none left, and that's to basically being the will to be the rightful owners of the bay. So yeah, check it out, man. It's a great slasher movie. I can only recommend it. It's free on YouTube. I believe it's free on YouTube. I'll see if I can put a link in the description of the YouTube if I can find it again. So hope you enjoyed the video and see you next time. Bye.